Carnifexes are living siege weapons used by the Tyranids, equipped with the most powerful bioweapons available. They are terrifying mountains of muscle and chitin that strike fear in anyone who faces them down on the charge. Hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling, and welcome to my video covering the Carnifexes of the Tyranids. The Carnifexes are of course a classic unit in 40k history. There's an entire archetype named after them by the fans, and of course their models are very iconic. So, the Carnifexes come in at 125 points for 1, or 250 for 2. They have a fairly standard sort of dreadnought stat line. They move 8 inches, so they're decently fast. With toughness 9, a 2+ save, 8 wounds, leadership 8+, and OC 3, you'll need some dedicated anti-tank fire to take them down, and they are seriously tough in cover. They have a whole suite of ranged weapons. They can take spine banks and bioplasma just as default, spine banks on their back, and of course bioplasma in their organs. Spine banks have assault, 6-inch range, with 5 attacks that hit on 4s, at strength 5, AP 0, and damage 1. This is a fine enough weapon for killing a few light guardsmen that try and get in your way. Bioplasma has assault and blast at 12-inch range with D3 attacks that hit on 4s, at strength 7, AP 2, and damage 1. A similar story, though this one is also quite effective against Space Marines. Then, he can take his two minor weapons are Death Spitters or Devourers. The Death Spitter with Slimmer Maggots has 24-inch range at 6 attacks that hit on 4s at strength 7, AP 2, and damage 1. Fairly good against light and medium infantry, but will still sort of struggle against multi-wound things. Then the Devourer with Brain Leech Worms has 18-inch range with 12 attacks that hit on 4s at strength 6, AP 0, and damage 1. This is a primo anti-horde weapon and is very good against the likes of Orcs or Guardsmen. Then he has two major weapons, the Heavy Venom Cannon and the Stranglethorn Cannon. The Heavy Venom Cannon has Blast at 36-inch range with D3 attacks that hit on 4s at strength 9, AP 2, and damage 3. This is a very solid sort of plasma cannon type profile. Then the Stranglethorn Cannon has Blast with 36-inch range at D6 plus 1 attacks that hit on 4s at strength 7, AP 1, and damage 2. Also a very solid marine killing weapon, and is relatively general purpose, especially with the buffs that these guys can get in various detachments and from various characters. In terms of melee weapons, he comes stock standard with Carnifex Talons and extra Carnifex Talons. Carnifex Talons have 6 attacks that hit on 4s at strength 9, AP 2, and damage 3, good at killing Terminators and similar. Then the extra attacks version just has 2 attacks and is otherwise the same. Then he can swap out either of these for Crushing Claws, which have 4 attacks that hit on 4s at 4 attacks with strength 12, AP 3, and damage D6 plus 1. He has a standard close combat weapon of 6 attacks that hit on 4s at strength 6, AP 0, and damage 1. In terms of his loadout, he has his extra slot and his main slot. His main slot can take the minor weapons, which also replaces his normal Carnifex Talons, then the extra Carnifex Talons can be replaced by any of the ranged weapons or Crushing Claws. He has Deadly Demise 1, and then in terms of abilities, he has Blistering Assault. When he is shot, if he loses wounds, you roll d6 and add 2, and he can move up to that many inches as he wants to, and can move into engagement range. They only have 1 meter option in Old One Eye, and this guy takes them from just durable with OK damage to durable with very good damage. I'll be covering him soon in his own video, but if you want these guys to be major damage dealers that wreak havoc in the enemy line, this Old One Eye and a couple of Carnifexes is a very, very solid unit for doing it. However, he is an epic hero, which has its own downsides. You can only have 1 of him, and also he cannot take enhancements, which does suck, which means there's effectively no way to get enhancements that directly buff a unit onto Carnifexes. However, it's not necessarily the end of the world, as his main core ability rule out the rerolls is huge, with their 5+, or rather, not 5+, 4+ ability to hit with every single one of their weapons, and without rerolls, their damage, as I had mentioned, is fairly so-so. Now, after leaders, we're of course going to cover their detachment options. Invasion Fleet is, unsurprisingly, very good for them. They love the lethal hits, as both their ranged and melee weapons could, in theory, struggle to wound vehicles, because either the Talons are only strength 9, and his guns only get up to strength 9 as well, so they really love that. And the main thing you love in Invasion Fleet is if you have a Hive Tyrant nearby, you can get these guys a 5+ Feel No Pain for free, which makes these guys just great bodyguards for him, as they are very, very tough with a 5+ Feel No Pain, and will require a lot of dedicated firepower to kill them, which is always very good. Crusher Stampede is obviously the monster detachment, if you will, and being able to move through walls is very nice, and +1 to hit is handy, but overall this is not a great detachment, and Carnifexes, while they're good there, are not really worth bringing the entire detachment for. In Unending Swarm, unsurprisingly, there's no support, though if you did want some extra melee muscles, these guys are a fine option for that. And then in terms of Assimilation Swarm, minimal support, they lack the keyword, so really nothing too important there, though I guess lethal hits for a CP isn't too bad. Vanguard, there's not too much support there, fallback and charge is okay. If you're fighting something like Custodes or Knights, you could put these guys in reserve and use Seated Broods to have them jump up turn 1 in the backfield, which could be interesting, to say the least. And then Synaptic Nexus is the other detachment where these guys are very solid. They're great guards for anything with Synapse, and love all 3 of the abilities. Goaded to the Slaughter is easily the best, as they only hit on 4s naturally, and if they have Old One Eye, they'll be hitting on 3s and rerolling everything, which is a super useful ability. I don't even need to necessarily explain that, but it is a, almost a 100% damage boost if you have all of those going off at once. And the Invulnerable Save is useful against Melta, which would be traditionally very effective against them. And then, of course, as I mentioned, they make great bodyguards for other Synapse units, although they lack the keyword themselves, of course. So Carnifexes throughout the game's history have had sort of a reputation for being scarier in appearance than in function, hence the term distraction Carnifex that every Warhammer player knows. However, they got that name for a reason. Ignore these guys, and you will pay the price. Especially in this edition, they can pack a lot of firepower, and with their crushing claws, they can crack most things in the game, especially with Old One Eye in tow. An Invasion Fleet, I think, is their best home. Unsurprisingly, it is the Take-All-Comers Detachment. The 5+ Feel No Pain is just so huge on these guys. They're naturally very tough, and with that, they are obscenely tough. And with Blistering Assault, they'll be making it to enemies very quickly. As I mentioned, their speed is good, it's not outstanding, but with Blistering Assault, they can immediately jump into combat with something. There's a lot of uses for Blistering Assault. In terms of loadouts, I would swap out their extra talons for either a Heavy Venom Cannon or a Stranglethorn, just because those are very good guns and they're useful for killing infantry. And then I would also, of course, take the Bioplasma and Spine Banks just to, when they're up in the front line where they obviously want to be, they can clear out hordes very efficiently and then get to melee with what they want. And then personally, I like the Claws the most. The Strength 12 is just super useful for Tyranids who notoriously lack Strength 12 weapons. Though the small amount of attacks could certainly come back to bite you. But whether you're running them as solo, sort of marauder units that roam the flanks of the army, or if you're running a big unit of them, I think that loadout's good either way. And they will make it to the enemy very fast if they shoot them and don't kill them, which is very likely, especially in an invasion fleet with that Feel No Pain. They form a very solid defensive line for your army, as well as being able to beat up most things that get into combat with them. Anyways, I've been Spoons Rattling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.